Lauren, are you okay if we go ahead and get started?
Yeah, sure.
We can wait a couple more minutes if you want.
I think we have about half the people that signed up. So if you tell me,
Yeah, let's go ahead and just give it one more minute then. No worries. Okay, we'll go ahead and kick things off and we'll go through some administrative announcements. And then as people are trickling in, we'll be sure to reshare links to make sure that they get access to those as well. So welcome to the South Viya Transition Topics office hours. We're going to go over, as I said, some administrative items, and then I will pass things over to Oren. So please remember to stay muted to minimize interruptions, and use the Zoom chat to ask questions related to our office hours topic today. Team members will be answering questions using the Zoom chat and verbally throughout the session. But we do ask that you do put all of your questions in the chat itself rather than just verbally. That way we have a record of all of the questions because answers for all topic related questions received throughout our office hours will be posted after the meeting conclusion in the DNA portal. And then all meeting materials, including the notebook as well, will be made available in the CCSQ DNA portal after the event. And then just a reminder to just give us a few days to turn that around. It does take a little bit to make all of those materials accessible and 508 compliant. So with that, we have introduction to Bamboolib with Oren, and I will pass things over to him now. We'll be sure to get the notebook and then those links from the beginning posted in the chat. And as I said, we can always repost those in about 5 minutes to make sure everyone has access. So Oren, I'll pass things over to you now and stop screen sharing.
excellent. And I will just get that link. I'll put it in the chat to start. And hopefully that worked. Okay, and I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yep, we're good to go.
Awesome. So thank you for coming today. This is a topic I am pretty excited about. And so I am glad you can all attend. We're gonna talk about Bamboolib. And Bamboolib is a low-code library that lets you analyze and work with data while knowing only a minimum of code. It basically has a GUI where you can like manipulate the stuff. And it's the next step up really from analyzing data using the built-in Databricks data profile and visualization tools we learned about in lesson 10. And it has a lot of functionality. And like, yeah, you don't need to know a lot about Python or R to use it, which is great for people that are just starting out. And just some things about it. It can be used to access and load data from database tables, CSV files, or Parquet files. So your database tables, those are in your catalog. It can grab those, or it can grab a CSV file, or you can grab a Parquet file in your workbench, and that'll be your mounted workbench. So it has to be mounted. And then once you have it loaded, it's got a lot of functionalities. It can help you explore data, you can clean data with it, you can visualize data with it, you can analyze data, you can download stuff. And so it really has a lot of power. And yeah, those are pretty much the pros of it. It allows non-programmers or programmers with minimal knowledge of Python to do a lot. And it also lets you easily see, evaluate, and export the code that you create using Bamboolib. So when you do stuff in Bamboolib, it's creating code behind the scenes, and you can view the code, you can download the code, and that means you can easily reproduce any work that you've done, and you can share it with users. You can save it to a workbook so you can rerun it without using Bamboolib. And if you just want to try and figure out how to do something, you can try and figure out how to do it out graphically, copy the code, and then use it as a learning tool. So really a lot of power. It does have some weaknesses. One weakness is that the data set, there's a limit to how large the files can be. The total limit is 10 million rows, and this is partly because Bamboolib is based on pandas, and pandas doesn't quite have the same processing power as Spark does. So you're losing some things there. Pandas is designed mainly for that's like the analytic visualization stuff. It just doesn't have the power that Spark does. So your data sets can't be really huge. And depending on how big your cluster is and how major, how many, what your compute resources are, you're probably going to be a lot smaller. And so that's a challenge. To take advantage of Bamboolib's full functionality, you need to work on an all-purpose cluster. And that's just because it works best with interactive, because that's the whole point of it. If you create code with Bamboolib and you copy it and you save it, you could, in theory, save it to a notebook and just run stuff on a job cluster. Might be a bit complicated of getting the stuff in there, but it's definitely doable. So if you really just wanted to create your programs from scratch using Bamboolib, first test it on an all-purpose cluster and then move it to a job cluster to run on the schedule, you probably could do that. I'm using Bamboolib for data visualization. It's only limited to about 10,000 rows. This is based on Plotly. Plotly is Bamboolib's main visualization library. And yeah, there's a limit to how big things can be. You don't want to use this for something that's like a whole claim file, but like you might use it for something like summarized data, right? One of the other issues about it is that sometimes it just doesn't work. And sometimes you click on it and you press run and it just fails. And you have to press run again, and you press run again, and you press run again. And so when you're doing a presentation for it, you have to be careful because sometimes it's not work for 15 minutes straight. And then you press it this 50th time and it worked. And the other challenge is there's limits to what you can do with it. It allows you to do a lot of things. It is not a replacement for code. It's not a total replacement for code. It just doesn't have that power of creating your own code. So ideally, you want to use Bamboolib as something when you're like just looking at data to start with, or when you're just learning. But if you want to use the whole functionalities of Databricks, Bamboolib, it more something that's going to be a gateway as opposed to the end means. Eventually, you're going to want to move to Spark if you're working in Python. Okay, so let's get started. So in order to install Bamboolib, you need to install the package. And I am installing two other things. I'm installing Kaleido and S3FS. The Kaleido is going to be used for downloading files. It is Plotly's it's basically Plotly's library to help you download visualization or move visualization. And S3FS is used to support moving things in S3. So we're installing those. You can see that ran, and we should be good there. Next up, Bamboolib runs in Python and Pandas. So you need to make sure to import Pandas. And here we are importing Pandas, Bamboolib, and NumPy. And now we are going to press this. Oh, and it works the first time, of course, when I don't want it to. But if you had very quick eyes, you could have seen there was an error widget not showing as desired. Yep, sometimes you get that, and what you do when that happens is you hit the run again. So here you can see that we have four options. We have the read CSV file from DBFS, read Parquet file, and load database table. And if I want to do load database table, I would just pick my catalog. I only have the one. I would pick my database, and I would do from there, I would do DASI simplicity. I'm not going to write it out. From there, I would pick a table, and then it lets me choose the limit and lets me choose how many records I want to do. Again, remember that we said that it can only support so much, and it's much faster if you do small things. So you may want to if you can only import a small data set, like maybe 1,000 rows or 10,000 rows, that's better than doing your whole thing. You have millions of records, and then you can define your data frame name. And also just to show how it looks like from a CSV file. So here the challenge is it's going to send you to the DBFS file store first, which we can't actually save stuff in anymore. You just go to DBFS, you go to mount, and then you just select your mount here. And I think my mount is, what's my mine is Q-ODP. And voila, I can see all my files in my folder location. So again, in order to read stuff from DBFS, you must have the folder mounted first. And then once you have the folder mounted, then you should be good to go. And if you forgot how to mount stuff, we talked about that in lesson 2. Okay, but what I'm going to do is I am going to load dummy data. Since that way I can play with it, I don't need to worry what's being sent out. And I'm going to work with the Titanic passengers data set, and I'm going to call it the Titanic. And voila, you can see what we got to start with. You can see the major thing here. We have a table view of the whole data set. And you can see here I have 891 rows. You can see here I have 12 columns. I go to the right. I can see all the names of my columns. I can see some data. You go right here. I can see what the type is for my column. So this is an integer, even though it probably should be a character. That's an integer. You can see this is a string. That's another string. You can see this is a float. So on and so forth. I go down, and it lets me look at all 891 records. Some other things to note, if I wanted to, I have a history button here, and this shows me everything that I've done so far. So if I want to remove things, or if I want to maybe recover things, I can go here and I can change stuff. And this lets me export. And this I can either export code, I can export to a variable, I can export it to a CSV. But whatever data set I create, I can, I can do something with it. And then down below here, you can see that here it is showing code in a moment. This is the code that it ran to create the stuff. And so, yeah, if you wanted this to use that, this is using that BAM library. So it's using the Titanic CSV there. So you would basically just use the code here, and you would need to define your data frame somehow because you wouldn't be getting it from Bamboolib. But basically, this would be idea of how you use your code. And you can hide it if you want, you can show it if you want, or you can even copy it. And if I go to code right here, I do a paste, and I have code. Okay, going up here, we have columns. And what I can do is, suppose I only want to see a few columns. Like suppose I want to see passenger ID, I want to see P class, I want to see age. Go there, I hit this. And yeah, it's a bit unintuitive, right? This you would like to actually like say something on it, like click here instead of just being a square. And yeah, that's unfortunate. That's one of the things about Bamboolib. sort of Databricks has acquired them, but it's definitely still a work in progress. And I'm sure they're gonna work on getting into Sparks and Pandas. So yeah, you have things like this where the GUI doesn't work as well as you would like. But anyway, you can see here we can define stuff. And what I can do is I can either go like that and run it like this. If I go to history, well, it didn't show up, but here, let's go to passenger ID, that. Yeah, that was showing up before, but okay. And there we go. I have my table. So that's one of the main things that this does. Another thing let you do is just a search action. And that has a lot of cool things. For example, we can do select or drop tables, columns, for example. And it does a nice thing on the side here. And like I could drop something, I could drop all the ones that have the same data type. If I get rid of that, or maybe I wanted to drop like, I don't know, name. You can see I have a whole thing I want to drop. I can drop like cabin, and we'll call it DF Titanic 1. And you can see I'm down to 10. And I was at 12, now I'm at 10. And I'm gonna undo this last step because I don't know. And if I wanted to recover it, I could recover like that. And now I have it back again. But there we go. So other things you can do a number of your like SQL things. So we talked about Slack, we can do like filters, and I can drop rows or select rows based on something. So suppose I only wanted to have like 200 things. I only want to have like 250 records. I could do something like this. And now I get only the ones that 250, and I can either overwrite my current data frame or I can create a new one. I don't actually want to do this. I'm going to hit cancel. And then we have other things. There are sorts right here. So this does what you would think. It can sort based on the value. You have two group bys. So you can do group by things. In theory, if I was working with multiple tables, I could do joins and merges. One of the things that likes a lot is changing column data type. And there's going to be like 30 or 40 options. Probably should just probably closer to 20, but it's going to be a lot of options talking about how you can change stuff. I mean, this is cool. This is clean column names. So this will get rid of white space. It's going to convert something that is, in this case, it's getting rid of punctuation so that all the column names are consistent. And this is helpful, right? Because sometimes you want your things to be all the same. Sometimes, the column stuff can matter. You don't want capitals where there should be non-capitals. So having something like this can make your data set much easier they get when things are weird, right? What else do we have here? And you can see of all the twos. You can rename tables here. You can do a find and replace, and this is for data cleaning. And you can either do it based on static values, or else you can use logic to do it. And then we've got some stuff here that lets you work with date times. If you want to move columns, you can do that. Bins are cool. And let's see if we can in a column, let's do say sex, for example. No, let's not do that. Let's do age. And we want to do it in say 7. Let's do okay, we did 8. I hit the wrong button. And I want this to be age bin group 1. Hit that. And voila, we have a bin, and you can see right there, it is telling you it's basically saying the inner and the outer limits of the bin. And that might not be so useful depending on what you're doing. So we can do is we can go back to the bin and we can search like that. And what we can do is we can go back to age, we can do 8 again, then we can do like this. And yeah, then we run this. And now we actually know which bin it is. We have 1 through 8, and now you can search for stuff. So if I only wanted to find the youngest people, I can do that. So a lot of power there. What else do we have here? We can do like a concatenate, it's like a union. We can do these things. Those are like transposes. We can create copies, we can create columns, we can drop things based on whether or not there's missing values or whether there's duplicate. We can create like an Excel formula for stuff. And then we can do window functions over here. And we can like change text. You can do a lot of things here. And yeah, that's largely looking for. And then they have even that, so you can like request it from them if you want something. So a lot of power from there. And let's go back to history. I'm going to undo that last step, and I'm going to undo that last step. And now we are back. Do we have any questions?
The only question was if you can change column attributes in the Bamboolib display, and I'm not sure if you already went over that or if you're going to be getting to that.
Absolutely. So what you can do is you can do it 2 ways. One way you can do it is doing it like this, and you can change, this is an int, we can change this to like a string. And then in the search actions, they have like a huge number. Like they have it, you might change it to integer, the unsigned integer, the float. I mean, they have a lot of things that you can change it to. So yeah, you can definitely change it in here. And yeah. Okay, so the second thing that this supports is the export data frame. And what this does is it shows you again how many rows, how many columns, like you had before. It gives you the columns in this table. It lets you see the data type. It lets you see unique values. It lets you see missing values. And if we go to an integer, there we go. It's going to plot it for you. It's going to look at that thing. It's going to tell you how many unique values you have, how many missing values, the count, the percentage of the count, and stuff like that. And if I want to get out of this, I can just exit. And if you see right here, this is how it's doing it. So if I wanted to grab the code, I can copy it and I can paste it. If we look at age, for example, that's another one that's going to have a lot of ones. You can see that it gives me statistic that. So it's going to tell me how many I have, the number of unique values, the number of missing, and then it's going to give me quantiles, means, max, standard deviations, and things like that. And it gives me this nice little histogram. What I can do is I can do something like this. I can change the min and max. So I'm only interested in people under 50. I can do that. I can change this to like say 10, for example. And you can see this is the width. The larger the width, the fewer bins there are. And you can see I can get a good glimpse of how this thing looks. And again, if I want to have the code, I hit copy, paste, and I am good. The other option that we have are characters, and if I go to say, let's do this one. Okay, this is my character, and again, it's telling me the count I have, and the percentages of each one. And if I go to name, for example, it tells me the top ones. And this is obviously at random because, yeah, obviously only one name per person. But it tells me the uniques to missing, it would tell me the top one. So maybe if instead of that one, I went to, let's try cabin. Yeah, this will tell me the top 10. And I have all of that. One thing it does also is it gives me a correlation matrix. So I can see the correlations between any of my variables. And well, numeric, of course. And you can see what has any correlation. And then also gives me predictor patterns. So for example, I can look to see what predicts. Yeah, okay, I can see like whether two things predict survive. So really survive, let's say survived. So yeah, so here I have a 0.129. This is a 0.521. And this uses predictive power score to do that, which we will talk about in just half a sec. Let's go back to Glimpse and let us click on survived, for example. So here we have bivariate plot. Yeah, passenger ID is not going to show you anything useful, but if we do P class, so here it's going to show you a density chart, and this is not particularly useful the way it is, but we can also do a predictive, and you can see that it says that the PPS has a 0.14, that survive predicts P class with that, and P class apparently does not predict survived at all. And let's go back here. Okay. Um, yeah, another thing I wanted to show is when you click on something and you go to predictors, it will show you how likely that column is predicted by the other ones there. So you can see that survived, not such great power. It's not predicted by so much. A bit by ticket, a bit by fare. But if I were to do, let's try this one, for example. Then we do predictors, and you can see it's predicted well by survived. If somebody survived, likely to be female. And just to talk about predictive score, power score for a bit. Basically, the idea behind that is it tests whether A predicts B on a scale of 0 to 1. These guys like it a lot because they think it's more useful than correlation to regression. Think of it this way. Suppose I give you a zip code, you'll be able to figure out which city I live in. But if I have a city, that won't necessarily tell me zip code. Like if I live in New York, it's got 30, 40 zip codes. You won't know which one it is. But if I give you a New York zip code, you'll know I'm there. So those two things might have low correlation, but having the ability to know zip code, that's going to be have that's going to have a very high predictive value to tell you what city is. Knowing city won't give you a very high predictive value on zip code. And also it comes in handy because like sometimes you have things that are very rare. Like suppose you want to know when a full moon is. If I have a model that says there's never a full moon, it's gonna have a very high correlation to what's actually happening, but it doesn't help me know when there's a full moon. So high predictive value and completely useless. So this puts together around that because this will have a no predictive score if we just say it's never a full moon. And it can be used on all different types of variables, and it can capture all a nonlinear relationship. Okay. Do we have any questions?
No new questions.
Awesome. Okay. So we've talked about search actions. We've talked about how to export a data frame. The other major thing this does is visualization. And we can do that by going to create plot. And you will see they have a number of different plots you can choose from, about 20. And Bamboolib largely uses Plotly for its visualization package. So if you know Plotly, this will all sound familiar. And if you're using Bamboolib to warrant visualization, then then this will definitely teach you Plotly. It does some with Matplotlib, it does some with Seaborn, largely Plotly based. And that's one of the reasons why in lesson 10 we focused on Plotly, because Plotly is newer, it's a bit easier for things to work with, and it's becoming more popular. And so what we can do is we can start with a histogram. Fine. And so we start with a histogram and we have a number of different options here. So we have an x-axis, we have an y-axis, and let's start creating something. What's a good one? Okay, so on our x-axis, we're going to put age. On our y-axis, we're going to do this. And now you can see I have I have my histogram. You can see it doesn't make much sense because my x-axis is age, my y-axis is sex, and it decided, okay, let's do sums. Not necessarily what I want. So what I can do is I go to histfunc, and that's the histogram aggregation function. And I can change that from sum to count. Maybe I don't like things like this, so I am going to go to should go orientation, and I'm going to change that to vertical, and now I can see things better. So this is one way we can do things. I'm actually going to do a different one because I want to show you some other stuff. So next up, we're going to do this one, and then we're going to do survive. So here, this shows me the survival rate based on gender. And now what I can do is I do other things like, for example, I have color. And color works differently than you would expect. I'm going to choose P class. It is going to separate the things by color into different categories based on another field. So what it's doing here is it's taking my thing, my survival rate, I'm doing it by class, and it's telling me that in the third class I had 47 male survivors, first class I had 45, second I had 17. And so that's what color does. It's not what you would expect. What I could do is go to bar display mode, and I want to say do group. And now I have it split out into three like this. So I have it as yeah, I have it as each class is separated. So I can see how it all looks together. And if I wanted to do overlay, I could do that, and it looks like that. And yeah, I actually hate that. So I'm gonna go back to relative and actually just gonna close it out because I don't want so many of them. Um, yeah, facet columns. So what these do is they will split things up based on based on groups. So what I can do is we had that. What I can do is I can go to embarked, and it's gonna create three different pictures for me, and it's all in a column. And it's whether I'm in a bar equals S, bar equals C, bar equals Q. I have like that. Okay, so one of the things we can do is category orders. This is fun. Suppose so right now my thing's at 3, 1, and 2, which probably not the way you want it. So I'm gonna go to P class. I'm gonna do a 1. I'm gonna do a 2, and I'm gonna do a 3. And it is going to fail, as we see. And so we can do is we can copy the code and you can copy and paste it. And what's happening is when I do 1, 2, and 3, so this is the code and these are the values. So P class is a numeric. It's turning into a character. So it's not working because it's expecting a 1 as a character value, not a 1 as a numeric. And so what I can do is I can go to the data, I can go to P class, we can change this to a string, you can execute, you can go here, and refresh, and voila, now it's working again. So now it's 1, 2, and 3. And you can see here also 1, 2, 3. Also 1, 2, and 3. You have that, for example. Turn that off for a second. Let's turn. uh, What you can do also is you could change the themes of it, how it looks, and then it would look a bit different. Here we have a marginal distribution, so you could like add a different thing on top of it or not. And then like this would normalize values, for example. So suppose instead of be up to 200, I wanted to do it as a fraction. Now you can see these go up to 100 and you can see this is 43%, 41%, yeah, 15%. I want it as a fraction. And now it, instead of doing to 100, it's going to 1. So not much of a difference there. You can set the ranges for stuff. So I could set my x-axis range, my y-axis range. Can't do much of a y-axis, x and y here. I'll probably talk about that more in a different one. Um, we could set ins. And then we have things where we can set the width of the things. We can set the height of the things. So maybe I can set the width. Maybe I want it to be, I want to be very big. So I do 1,000 and pretty big, right? Do 2,000 and then to see it all, I have to go like that. Those things will all change stuff. And then we can change the things and we can create titles, for example. So if I wanted to change the X title, I don't know, suppose I call this that. Maybe I change my Y title to five, four, eight. See that changed also. And if I want to do a figure title, I could do, and now I have a title there. So yeah, lots of pretty cool things here. It does let you add animations, for example, if you want to show how things change for like a period of time, you could do that. And yeah, and the other thing that I want to show is let's go back to age. We can go to bins and put one in. You can see if I do 10 bins, it'll bin the stuff for me. So that's every 10, not every, yeah, about every 10 years. For some reason, it starts at -5. I don't know why. And I don't know how they get it to start to do something reasonable, but the things if I want to get things a bit more consolidated, I can do like 3. And now I have my data in 3 bins. I have 25 to 74.9. A bit unfortunate the way it chooses how to do bins, but yep, that's just how it goes sometimes. Okay, we've talked enough about histograms. Let's just go to bar plot quickly. So here we can go to our x-axis. I'm going to set that to E class. I'm going to set this y-axis to survive. Let's go with that for a second. Because you can see how it looks right here. I have bins, and what I can do is again I have a lot of options like I did before. I have my y-axis, I have colors, I have facet columns. I have some error bars here that I could throw in. Largely the same as before with histogram, but a few differences. Next up to it, I want to do a scatter plot. So I go to my main one, I'm going to do age. And let's go to my y-axis, and I want to do fair. So here you can see what the cost was based on age of the person. You see that stuff comes up. And what we can do is we can set color. We can set that to survive. And this lets me know whether somebody survived or not. And here it's a bit confused. It doesn't really understand that there's only 0 and 1 values. So what we can do is yeah, we go to color scale type thing. And instead of continuous, we can hit discrete. And now we have our nice 0s and 1s. So you can see things about them. I might go to shape. Maybe I can set the shape based on P class. And now you can see that shape change based on the class of the user. So you can see things about them. And you can also see things that are hovering about them when you look on each line, on each dot. So you can see all of that. And then like we can go to hover title for this one, and we can put in a name and we can say record. No, wants an actual value. You can put in passenger ID. And now you can see that up top it has the passenger ID. Passenger ID is pretty useless. Let's change that to name. And then you can see that names are coming up right here. And yeah, let's see if there's anything else. change the sizes of things. Okay. Let's close out of these. Let's just go to a pie chart quickly. And what you can do there is this is used on the sector label and sector value. So my sector label, I can set to, I'm going to set that as key class. Sector value, I'm going to set that as fair. And yeah, you can see I have a nice thing. I can tell me, it tells me how much of my fare was by each class. So it looks like the main class paid $18,270. They were the main source of revenue for this trip. And then two with a much smaller, three was a good quarter. And I mean, there's a lot of people, more people in the third class than the second class, but people in the second class paid more than people in the third class on average. Just there are more people in the third class. And then we can add other things. There's a legend title, legend, for example, we can set the legend. So maybe we want to change that to ticket classes. And that's there. I can go to figure title. I can set that to survivors by ticket class. And yeah, and also we can change things so that it looks a different theme. So I can set the theme, for example, figure theme, and I can choose what kind of template I want. So I might choose ggplot. And then I can copy the code. I can paste it. And you can see that again, it's using Plotly. It's using all this stuff here. That is Plotly code. And yeah, that's that. Just for one more, a bit more complicated one, we can look at scatter plot 3Ds. And that's, yeah, obviously a bit more. So my X, I can set age. I can set P class. I can set fair. And you can see I have a small thing right there. What I can do is I can set like color to survive. Okay, this is just about okay. And it's frozen on me. So okay, so that's where we're gonna stop talking about all the options. Oh, okay, it didn't freeze totally. And I get that, I'm just gonna stop that because I don't want to freeze. So I'm gonna okay. So those are some of the things you can do with Bamboolib. And also what you can do for Bamboolib is you can download a visualization. There are two ways that you could do it. The first would be if you run things, you go here, you can download a pod as a PNG. It's a bit annoying to do this because this goes to your computer. So if I were to do that, it would save it there, it goes to my download. So you have to be careful because if you have PII, PHI, you don't want to do that. Fortunately, this is just Titanic data, so it doesn't matter. And the second thing you can do is use Clyde to do it programmatically. So here I have a location and I am going to run this code just to include myself. You can see I have nothing there. And here what I'm doing is I am importing Plotly, I'm importing pandas, S3FS, and I am doing this other thing. I am creating a plot here. This is a tree map, and it doesn't really matter what it's showing. It just is going to create a figure. And here I am writing some code to convert this into bytes. So you can go to a PNG. I'm specifying my bucket and file path, and then I am going to save it. And you could just really just cut and copy this code. The only thing you need to change is this. And I run this code, and it failed because I probably, because I called it, I changed the name to Titanic, I think it is. Titanic. And voila, I have it downloaded and it is now there. And yeah, this is and what we have up here, these are things I didn't talk so much about. These are just things that can show you some code that is created from Bamboolib. And what you can do is you can just generate some results, basically just follow these steps, and it'll get you this code, which you can copy and paste, and just showing you like how to do things. And you can see there's stuff about histograms here. There's one thing about histograms. Here's one of histograms with pins. And you have a whole bunch of things that I go into. I show you how to do a few things with. And so, yeah. So now this is the conclusion. And at the end of this, you should now have a basic understanding of what Bamboolib does. You should be able to analyze a data set using Bamboolib, at least be able to get an idea of what it looks like. And what the columns look like, what the rows look like, whether or not any columns predict another, see some relationship. You should be able to visualize, you create visualizations using Bamboolib, and you should be able to export your code of visualization. Are there any questions?
I don't see any additional ones in the chat, Orin. Are you okay if we go ahead to our survey?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So thank you everyone for joining us today. After you complete our survey, you can feel free to drop. We are just administering this poll to get feedback on what we can continue to do to improve and make our office hour session. Sorry, I'm also trying to find it while I'm talking. Our office hours continue to be successful. So please give us your feedback. Okay, that should be on your screen now. Thank you so much for joining us.